Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit fun and interesting to see what the results turn out like. So we're going to do a bit of drugstore versus high-end. So I've got all my products here lined up and I'm trying to get the best sort of dupes for the high-end products as possible so that it is quite fair. For example, we've got here the Revolution and the Tarte foundation. So these might not be an exact dupe, you know, for one another, but I'm going to try it out and we're going to do the full face, half and half, and hopefully we can save ourselves some money going forward if we get a really good close comparison. So keep on watching and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Okie dokes, I've just put some clips in just to move my hair out of the way and I'm going to jump straight in with primer. So the two primers that I'm using today, so on the drugstore side we've got the NYX Honey Dew Me Up, which is much loved by me, really nice and great for holding your foundation on as it gives a nice sticky feel, and that is versus the Benefit Professional Matte Rescue Primer. So this is the closest high-end primer I had to the Honey Dew Me Up, as it's quite a gel sort of formula. It's not as sticky, but it's the closest I could find out of my collection. So let's just go straight in and pop these both on. I've got to remember that I don't need to apply as much product on each side. So texture wise it feels similar, obviously I said, apart from the fact that it's not as sticky. It's still a nice gel texture, however obviously as this is a matte primer, it may look different on both sides, as obviously this is more of a dewy primer and that's a matte, so that's the only issue with this. Other than that though, both fantastic primers, both really great at keeping makeup on, so let's just see how it performs throughout. So next we're jumping into foundation, and as I've said I'm using the Revolution and the Tarte foundation. So the Revolution one is in shade F3 and the Tarte one is in shade Light Sand. So again I'm starting off with the drugstore side. I'm just going to take my Real Technique sponge and blend that out. So you can definitely tell straight away that I've only done half the face. This is the Revolution foundation. I think I've got enough on. Coverage is really like a medium to full, this one I find, and it is a very matte foundation, so it does almost go a little bit dry sometimes, but it's probably the best coverage and sort of look we're going to get with that. So let's move on now to the Tarte one. I'm just going to use my same sponge for this. Quickly, as you can see, it's got the same sort of applicator, dofer and everything like that. So this is looking a bit scary at the moment. Obviously this side is more of a pink undertone and this is more of a yellow undertone. But yeah, at the moment, coverage wise, I would say I put the same amount on each side, thereabouts, and looking at them just like this, I definitely get a little bit more coverage on the Tarte side, but you know, we'll see how the rest perform. Okay, so next we're going in with a bit of concealer to brighten up the under eyes. So we've got the e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer on the drugstore side and the Tarte Shape Tape concealer on this side. So these again are quite similar in terms of applicator. So they've got big dofers on either of these. My Tarte one's nearly ran out, which is so annoying because it's so good. Starting off with the e.l.f. Just taking a bit under the eyes and any sort of blemishes I have as well on this side. So you can see there that that's given me nice coverage under the eyes just to brighten anything up. It's blended out really nicely, it doesn't feel heavy or cakey, and coverage is really good. Jumping straight in with the Tarte. I can sort of tell already that using this one alongside the other one, you can definitely see that a small amount of product goes a longer way than the e.l.f. one. Coverage wise on both under eyes, both really good. Looking at them, as I said, this one has more concealer, well not more concealer, but the concealer has done a better job in terms of the amount I used for the product that's paid off. And this one is more matte, I can see, than this one. This one's a little bit more dewy, so I'm going to need to set that soon. But first off, I'm going to be going into cream contouring. So on my Drugstore side, we've got the NYX Wonder Stick, and on the high end, we're using Huda Beauty Tan Tour. Now I know that these are slightly different products, as this is a stick and this is actually in a little pot, but it's the same concept, so that's what we're going to go with. So taking my sponge to blend out the cream contour on this side. So we can see that I am a little bit more contoured now. Going in with my Huda on the other side, I'm going to be using a little brush to apply this and then blend it out with my sponge. So I'm going to quickly do that off camera. Okay, so I'm back and contour now applied. I would definitely say the Huda one does, I think, in my opinion, dry a little bit quick. So you've got to work quite quick with it in order to blend it out properly. So I would probably do section at a time, blend out, and then move on to the forehead instead of popping it on everywhere and then blending. So that's a good point for the NYX one. It doesn't dry so fast, so you can take your time with it and blend it out more. However, in favour of the Huda one, the colour is much nicer. So this is more of a sort of tanned, goldeny kind of warm shade, whereas this NYX one is quite grey, ashy shade. Not really something I like as much in a contour. I do prefer it to be a bit warmer to give you more of the tanned feel. So I will vote the Huda one on this side for this round. Just to give you guys a little price comparison though, the Huda Beauty one is I think £30, whereas the NYX stick is only 11. And you do get another side on the NYX stick, which I haven't used today, but that is a lighter shade which you can go into highlight and all the rest. So yeah, £11 versus 30, but in my opinion, splashing out a bit more is worth it in this case. Right, moving on to powder. Let's set these under eyes and the rest of the face. I've got the Maybelline powder from my Drugstore side, my favourite, and the Benefit Hello Flawless powder in Ivory on my high end. Now, the only reason I've gone with this is because this is only high-end powder that I own, and it's almost ran out, it's hit pan, but the difference is this is a compact powder, whereas this is a loose powder, so it will be a different sort of effect and different when applying, so I will be taking that into account. But I'm going to go in first with the Maybelline and just do this how I normally would. As this side is matte anyway, you don't need as much powder. It's just to keep everything set in place. Now going in with my Benefit, I'm going to be taking the same brush. I've never done this technique before with a compact powder. I always use like a little, maybe like a little brush like that, or the little sponge that you get, but I am going to take this big brush and see if that works. Another thing as well is this has colour to it, whereas the other one not as much. Okay, so now I'm feeling nice and matte. Definitely can see a slight difference in both sides, especially with the contour shade and maybe the shade of the foundations being a little bit different, but so far impressions of both sides are pretty nice. The only thing I would say is really, you know, much nicer for me is the contour, and other than that, the skin, the foundation, concealer, everything on the Drugstore side has definitely been win-win. So like usual, I will have all the products listed down below so you can see the prices and everything like that. But moving into bronzer, we've got the Revolution Patricia Bright's palette. I'm going to be taking the bronzer from there as this is a really nice shade. And then on the high end, surprise surprise, I'm going to use the Benefit Hoola bronzer as this is my all-time favourite. So using the same brush for both, the Benefit Hoola brush, going in with this one first. Now going in with my Hoola bronzer. So I feel like I've brought a lot of warmth back into the face now on this side with that bronzer, as it was quite a nice warm bronze. But looking at both side, like straight on, honestly the bronzers did perform very similar. They're both matte, they're both a nice warm brown shade, they're not too dark, they don't go patchy. And yeah, really close one, so definitely gonna opt for the Revolution one next time as it is the cheaper alternative. Next we're going into blush, and fun fact, I used to absolutely hate blush. I think because my skin is quite naturally red without makeup, so I didn't want to sort of emphasize that with putting blush on, but now obviously I've learned to love it, and once you've got your canvas on anyway, my redness all sort of goes, so I just add a little bit of blush and just get a bit more colour in the face, and I love it. So for Drugstore, I'm using the Milani blush. This is in the shade Luminoso. This is a real favourite of mine, and it comes with a little brush which is funky. And then high end, I am taking the Kevyn Aucoin blush, and that is, looks like this, and that is in the shade Rosecliff. The Milani one is definitely a bit more of a pale sort of peachy tone. Right, so going in with the Milani first on my Wet n Wild brush. And now for the Kevyn Aucoin. So they both have like flecks of, not glitter, but like shimmers throughout. However, I do think this Kevyn Aucoin is definitely more shimmery. It's given me much more of a glow. Really happy with how the blushes turn out. As I said, the Milani one is one of my favourites anyway. Blush, I think it doesn't matter if it's Drugstore or high end. You can find so many Drugstore blushes that do the job really nicely, really nice colour and great pigment, and will last all day long. So please don't spend too much money on blushes, as you really don't need to fork out that much. You can get a really nice affordable one. The Milani blush is actually only £10.95, whereas the Kevyn Aucoin blush is £30. So to save yourself 20 bucks, you may as well go for the cheaper one, and it still looks just as nice. So now I think it's time for a bit of highlighter. It's going to prove difficult to pop highlighter on the nose, as obviously half and half, so I'm just going to do the cheeks today. Going in with the Patricia Bright palette again and taking the lovely highlighter shade here. Versus, I've got here the Laura Mercier. This is the Fall in Love Face Illuminator collection. Now this was limited edition. I got this I think quite a while ago, a few years ago, and it's been much loved. It's very dirty, so apologies for that. But looking at them next to each other, I'm probably going to take this shade here, as that's the closest I can get to the one in the palette. In the Revolution one first. So this is a relatively new palette to me, this Patricia Bright's one. Have used the highlighter once before, and putting it on again today, I do find you have to build it up if you really want the glow. It's not sort of as pigmented as I would like, but it's definitely got a nice glow to it once it's been built up. It just takes a little while, that's all. And now we're going in with the Laura Mercier. Haven't used this in forever. I kind of feel with this one it sort of melts into the skin. and just looks really nice and like natural, almost as if you've got wet skin. Doesn't leave a cast, doesn't have too much glitter in there, so it's definitely a winner for me in comparison. It's just more natural and it just looks more sleek. Laura Mercier palette was £46, so yeah, that is quite a lot. It's not a cheap brand and it was limited edition quite a while back. You do get 4 shades in there, a bit pricey I know, but in comparison to this one, which is only £7.95. So splash out if you want, but it's up to you. Apologies if the lighting isn't great, the sun and everything outside is just sort of starting to go down now, so it's getting a little bit more dull in here. I am going to get myself soon some artificial lighting, so fingers crossed it will be much better on camera and you'll have a much better experience watching my videos. Please like this video if you are enjoying and subscribe if you haven't already. Now we're going to get some brows on, as I feel like I really need it. We've got the Revolution brow pencil. This is in the shade light brown, and that's that one here. And then on the high end we're taking the Benefit Goof Proof pencil in shade 3. Now the reason I've chosen these as my products to use today is because they're so similar in the application. But as you can see there, they are literally almost identical. They've both got a spoolie wand on the end, and I was so impressed with this one when I ordered it. It was literally £2.95, and when you compare it to something over £20, both very similar. So let's just jump straight in and you can see for yourselves. So I've hardly used any pressure at all. And it's so easy to apply, it just goes straight on. Now for the Goof Proof. Now I love Benefit a lot and I really love their brow products, but I will say that the Revolution one has stole my heart. Now this has glided on so easy, so much easier than the Benefit one. Benefit one actually is a little bit dry to apply and isn't as smooth going on, whereas this one I had to apply no pressure at all, just went straight on. The colour comparisons are very similar, so that's a good call, but now I know which one is my favourite. Now for a bit of eyeshadow, I'm going to try and keep the eyes as similar as I possibly can. I'm going to do the same look with the most sort of similar looking shades. Obviously I'm taking the Revolution Soph Extra Spice palette for my Drugstore, and then for my high end I am taking my James Charles X Morphe palette. I've chosen these as I found there is quite a few shades that do almost look quite similar. So we're going to go straight in. I'm not going to be putting a base down, I'm just going to be working over the top of the powdered lid. First of all, I think I'm going to take the shade Cheesecake, which is this sort of browny warm shade here, and just run that through the crease. I used the Soph palette for the first time the other day and I do find the pigment is so good. Next I'm going to go in with the shade Sweet and Sour, which is this one here next to the yellow one, and I'm just going to be packing that on the inner and outer corner of the eye. Now just to deepen it, I'm going to be going in with the shade Mulled Wine, which is this sort of burgundy purple down here, and just running that over the crease again. And then just for the centre of the eyelid, I'm taking the shade Dreams, which is this nice sort of shimmery shade in the corner. So even though I'm using a shimmer, there's absolutely no fallout at all, which is amazing. Obviously considering we've already done the face, we don't want any fallout. So that's one eye completed. So I'm going to be doing the same style, the same shades on the other eye, and let's just see the difference in the payoff and how they perform. So I first went in with Cheesecake, and looking at the James Charles palette, the best one in comparison is going to be this shade here. I took the other one quite high, so I'm going to do the same. Okay, and then I went in with Sweet and Sour, which is going to be this shade here in the middle, as it's quite an orange shade. I'm so impressed so far with how similar they look. I'm now going in with the shade here, which is going to be like the mulled wine shade. Definitely don't need as much because I can see that it is showing up much more on this side, and it is more pigmented for sure. So I'm going to leave it at that. So we want to take, I think, this shade here, similar to Dreams, and pop that through the centre. So I will zoom you in and show you up close. I've definitely experienced a little bit more fallout with the James Charles side. However, saying that, it is definitely more pigmented, especially with the shimmer shade in the middle. It does show up a lot more and didn't take as many coats. But overall, very, very similar and really, really good comparison. Decided to smoke it out just a little bit more, so I've added the Sweet and Sour under the eye, and then the sort of matching shade of the James Charles under this eye. And now that is the eyeshadow complete, I will be moving on to mascara. So mascaras we've got today are two minis. We've got the No. 7 Lash Extender, and we've got the Too Faced Damn Girl. Both minis, I haven't curled my lashes, I haven't put mascara base on either of them. I'm just going to go straight in. This colour eyeshadow definitely makes my eyes pop, but I've just put the mascara on both eyes, and personally I actually think the Too Faced one has done a better job. It's my first time trying out the No. 7 one, but I don't know if you can tell, but they just look a little bit fuller on this side and just more separated and fluffy. However, I am sure there are plenty of other drugstore mascaras out there that will do just as good a job. Now, moving on, we've got last but not least lips. I can take my clips out now. And lips, we're going to be using lipsticks. So for the drugstore, we've got the MCobeauty in the shade Flawless. I got this one in one of my glossy boxes actually. I'm not too sure if you can get these in like a drugstore, but I have checked online and it's super cheap, so it won't be hard to get hold of. And that is that one there. I'll just put swatches on my hand as well so you can see. And then for the high end, we're taking the MAC Bullet Lipstick in the shade Please Me. So if I put that next to that one, try to find as good a match as I could. So here is the swatch for those two. If you can see, quite a pinky shade. So I'm going to start with the MCobeauty and try and do half a lip. It's really creamy and glides on really nicely. There's quite a nice scent to it as well. It's almost quite like fresh. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so that's one half done. I'm sure most people probably know how MAC lipsticks perform, but personally they're super creamy, they go on really easy, the pigment's great, and they last all day. So you can definitely tell the MAC one is more pink, however, not a bad match, and both very pigmented and done a great job. Here's the finished look, as I don't have a setting spray for drugstore and high-end to try. I haven't bothered with that today. This is the finished makeup look. We've got a very similar looking face, a little bit more sort of darker and pigmented on this side of the eyeshadow, but in terms of base I'm quite happy with both sides. This side's blended out maybe a bit better, and overall I am really happy with the finished look. I thought I was gonna be finished with two completely different sides, not be able to go out and do anything, have to redo it, but it's actually not too bad. So I've added all the products together and we've got £95 worth of products versus 330. So to save yourself some money, you've seen the products perform throughout, so you know which ones to go for and which ones maybe not to, but everything's been really great. It's turned out how I wanted it to, not how I expected it to, and like this video if you enjoyed, as I said, and I shall see you in the next video.